This short film summarises some of the work that I'm doing with Baptcare and HSA Australia on planning. And we've been thinking about this in 4 phases or 4 stages. And the first is preparation. So if you look over on the left in pink, the first phase is getting ready for life planning and budgeting conversations. And underneath that are 5 person-centered practices or tools that we think would be core to doing a great job in preparing for this conversation. So taking a strengths-based approach and knowing what the person's strengths are and their gifts are and how they can be used and built into the process. Really understanding what matters to the person. That's people, places, routines, what really, really matters. What a typical day or a typical week is now, so we can get a snapshot of the person's life. Their ideas about their future, if they're able to see in the future what their hopes or dreams or aspirations might be, or simply what a good life could look like week by week. The support that people are receiving now, their life story or their history, and an understanding about what's working and not working right now. And there are additional tools that can be useful depending on the context or situation of the person. For example, a communication chart or a decision-making agreement if there are issues of capacity and communication to pay attention to. And then once we've been thinking about preparation, the next stage is the life planning and budgeting conversation and seeing how we can see those 2 things as related but not the same. And there are additional tools or practices that could be helpful here. For example, the 4+1, which looks at what's been tried and learnt already, getting to goals or outcomes, thinking about what the person wants to achieve in their future, and the support sequence that looks at ways of achieving goals and outcomes by thinking about support for the person's independence or confidence in managing their situation, looking at technology, looking at the roles of friends, family, community, paid services and everyday support. So really thinking through a structured way and making sure we're paying attention to technology as well as community in the way we think about what's possible. And then optional that can be used as needed is 5 ways to well-being, which is an evidence way of thinking about what supports each of us to have well-being that can be useful in planning. And then the next stage is making it happen. And that might require thinking about clarifying roles, and the donut is a tool that could be used there, matching staff or thinking about how we find the ideal people to support individuals if they're choosing to use their money for that. And there's a value-based recruitment process that can really support that. Then decision-making agreements. So we're really clear about who makes what decision. And then again, optional to be used as needed is presence to contribution. So we can really make sure that the way we're supporting people enables them to be fully contributing members of their community, and ways of capturing learning on an ongoing basis like learning logs. And then critically, we believe we need to see review as almost as important as the initial planning, so that we're looking at what people have learned and tried over the period since the plan's been put in place, what's working and not working, perhaps from different perspectives, and really to update any of the tools that have been used in preparation for planning. And again, outcomes and support sequence might be required depending on the changes made at that stage. So what we can see is a really core set of tools or practices that we can support local area coordinators and other people who are responsible for planning to deeply understand, to be able to, for them to evaluate their competence in each tool so they can get support to feel really, really confident in them. And in a few minutes, I'll describe the different ways that we're doing that. But if you look above that to the square, the black squares, this is what we want the participants to be able to say about each stage of the process. So again, back over to the left. This is particularly for the participant experience for the NDIS pathway, that I have a conversation about what the NDIS is and what will happen when. I'm given the opportunity to prepare and have the resources to do this. And I agree a date to have a conversation and have information about the person who's planning with me and what to expect. And then over at the life planning budgeting conversation stage and making it happen, we have a conversation about my life and my future. We agree goals and look at different options for achieving them. I have a copy of important information that I tell my story once. So again, that might be about life history. That might be what matters to you, like a 1-page profile. That might be ideas about your future. And then I know what is happening next and how my plan turns into action and will make a difference in my life. And then for review, we agree when and how to review what's happening and given the opportunity to prepare and have the resources to do this. And we have a conversation about my life and my future. So what we're doing at the moment is building resources to support this in order to prototype, test it out, refine, and keep improving. So for people themselves, for participants, we're developing an updated planning booklet, preparation booklet, and different resources to support that fits with the different tools you can see here, so that they're all coterminous, so that we're using tools in everyday language that people understand, that people are supported to prepare using that information, that when we get to the life planning and budgeting conversation, we're building on that. And of course, if people don't have the capacity to plan, that we can just continue this using the same types of conversations. So for participants, it's a preparation booklet and resources to prepare and know what to expect. For local area coordinators and other people who are planning, we're developing a handbook for each of these tools that explains what they are, how to use them, when to use them, and how to check your level of understanding and competence. We've got e-learning that supports that. And we're also creating resources for managers, so managers can take time in supervision and in meetings to support their colleagues to feel really, really confident and competent, and a process for group coaching that helps us to go through different situations, different real situations, and coach each other and support each other to do things, for example, to use the support sequence. So the next stage is to test this out with a small cohort and then a larger cohort. And what we're also excited about doing is looking at creating an online training program that supports this, that we can do at scale, both for Baptcare and perhaps for other organisations as well, that supports people to use this process, to use the tools and to feel confident and competent in that, that supports the implementation for any organisation moving in this direction.